We are the sum total of our experiences. If you've ever seen this before, most likely over a mountain, a sunset, a babbling brook, odds are you spent a little too much time reading inspirational quotes. But even beyond the vacuous dearth that is Pinterest, this message seems to have seeped its way into the collective consciousness of pop culture. From smart sci-fi like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which deals with the devastating and life-changing implications of memory removal.
It's all falling apart. I'm erasing you and I'm happy!
To even corny action blockbusters like Total Recall, which tackles the paranoid confusion created by implanting false memories.
You are not you. You're me. No shit.
But today, I'll be talking about a little known sci-fi show which continues in its tradition, Rick and Morty.
What?
And while most videos on the show tackle its existentialism and nihilism,
Nothing you do matters, your existence is a lie!
I'd instead like to discuss the show's ethics, and more specifically pose the question, if we could modify our memories, should we? And for the sake of clarity, this is your official spoiler warning. But seriously, watch the show, it's pretty damn great.
Thanks, noob. This guy gets it.
Before we get started, here's a quick recap of the episodes in question. Total Recall, a pun on the previously mentioned Total Recall, sees the Smith family battling alien parasites.
These telepathic little bastards, they embed themselves in memories, and then they use those to multiply and spread out and take over planets.
Confusion reigns, hilarity ensues, and things get a little out of control. Morty realises the parasites can only create happy memories.
Oh, wow. Baby Wizard was a parasite? He set me up with my wife.
And violent bloodletting begins. Morty's mind blows, on the other hand, sees Morty reliving all the memories he supposedly asked Rick to remove because they were too traumatic. Morty makes some terrible mistakes, Rick is wrong sometimes, and everyone hates Morty.
We still love you, but I do have a thing at 6. Oh God.
Having lost a large proportion of his life, Morty resolves to kill himself, only for Summer to step in, save the day, and get none of the credit.
You stupid bitch!
Now, without further ado, allow me to wildly overthink and literalize what are largely fun and irreverent episodes of television.
Don't break your back creating a lesson, Morty.
Part 1. Memories don't exist in isolation. While it's common to think of memories being stored, they're not actually spatially localized, meaning that there's no single location within the brain where a memory can be found. According to Lau and Sandberg, memories are not discrete objects, but instead overlap and interconnect, which presents a problem if someone asks for a specific memory to be modified, as changing one memory will affect an entire network of memories.
Oh my god.
This presents a problem for Morty when a mistake he makes over several days prompts him to have it removed entirely.
I call this one Moonspiracy.
Morty is ultimately responsible for inadvertently causing the suicide of Mr. Loonis after seeing a smudge on the lens of a microscope.
Smudge on the lens? Smudge on the lens?
Turns out he's not a man on the moon, or a paedophile for that matter, and is actually a decorated marine who just so happens to look like a smudge.
Oh my god, what have I done? What have I done?
Because this all takes place over several days, in order to completely remove it from Morty's memory, those entire days would have to be removed because the memories are all interconnected, which then begs the question, just how much of his life has Morty lost?
Alright, save it for YouTube. I'll keep looking for clues.
To answer this question, we have to return to our old friends Lau and Sandberg, who identify two different types of memory. Semantic memories, which form and connect the meaning of and relationship between objects, people, places and concepts, and episodic memories, which cover a specific instance or single learning experience, even if the exact point in time to which they refer cannot be recalled. By removing the events of Moonspiracy from Morty's memory, any semantic memories formed during that time will put their connected memories in jeopardy. Even memories only tangentially connected to Moonspiracy will be affected, as they are all encoded as part of a network and not as discrete objects.
Oh man, geez, seriously?
But maybe the show's pushing things even further. Rick and Morty is no stranger to being meta, and Rick even describes the episode as
More like a clip show made of clips you never saw.
Directly into the camera. If Rick is talking to Morty and the audience here, it's not unreasonable to suggest that the episodes we see are his only memories. The show is largely episodic with few overarching storylines, with some notable exceptions.
I am Phoenix person.
But this does leave Morty with little narrative cohesion in his life.
That's it! I'm out! out!
Leon Cass, in his study of biotechnology's role in the pursuit of happiness, remarks that we want our memories to be not simply a sequence of disconnected experiences, but a narrative that seems to contain some unfolding purpose.
Life is effort and I'll stop when I die!
In removing his memories, Morty's disrupted part of, if not all of, his life's narrative, leaving him with only interchangeable episodes and adventures that lack purpose. What if this is the reason that Rick thinks life has no purpose? Because he's in the business of destroying it. What
about the reality where Hitler cured cancer, Morty? The answer is don't think about it.
Okay, right, sorry. Moving on. If memories can't exist in isolation, then logically, inserted memories, a la memory parasite, would have to embed themselves into these memory networks in order to take hold and displace the ones already there. Take Jerry and Sleepy Gary, for instance.
I know who the Smiths are. I've known Beth since high school. And her husband, Sleepy Gary, is hands down my absolute best friend.
Thanks, Jerry.
Sleepy Gary has displaced Jerry within the Smith family as both husband and father, pushing him to the peripheries of both his wife and children's lives. Memories, therefore, are less about how we validate and authenticate the past than they are about how we organise the present. Jerry now views himself as simply a friend of his own family. By implanting new memories, Jerry's present-day decision-making is radically altered, as his love for Sleepy Gary makes him want to die to be with his parasitic lover.
No! Just send me to Gary. I want to be with Gary.
But none of this would work if the parasites didn't spread themselves across the entire brain through memory networks. Rick and Morty demonstrates this through the multiplication of the parasites.
No, don't flash back!
They trigger a memory, reinforcing their own position within the Smith family, while simultaneously introducing another parasite. For example, the introduction of Mr. Beauregard conjures up the memories that bring Frankenstein's monster, Sleepy Gary, and Photography Raptor into existence.
There's only supposed to be 6 people in this house.
But there's always been 10.
No!
It's the interconnection of these memories that allows the parasites to take control and ultimately seem real, like they've always been there. Therefore, modifying memories would not only rob us of a sense of narrative purpose in life, it would also pose a significant threat to our perception of reality and of who we are. Which brings us swiftly on to Part 2, the importance of reality. Rightly or wrongly, people ascribe meaning to what is real over what is fake, something that Rick goes to great lengths to decry as stupid, often to no avail.
Nobody gets it. Nothing you think matters.
This follows along the lines of Robert Nozick's thought experiment, the Experience Machine, a machine which simulates experience and sensation without you having to do anything whatsoever. It's kind of like VR, except you don't look like an idiot. Nozick argues that we learn that something matters to us in addition to experience by imagining an experience machine and then realising we wouldn't use it. For Nozick, the experience and sensation alone is not enough. We need it to be true, we need it to be real, which I guess is why Cypher's the villain of the Matrix.
Ignorance is bliss.
Our desire for authentic experience, in most cases, trumps simulated experience. We see this most clearly when the Smith family massacres the memory parasites.
Now let's go, Morty. We've got a lot of friends and family to exterminate.
Although the parasites feel like authentic, lifelong friends, and their emotional connection to them is genuine, they have little problem laying waste to them, particularly Summer, who nonchalantly kills Tinkles.
Summer, I've always loved you!
Yep.
Once the family discovered the parasites weren't real, they were rejected, despite the fact they only implanted happy memories. Rick and Morty suggesting that we ultimately value the truth over happiness, as the Smiths choose their real, degenerate family over the perfect but fake parasites.
We killed every good person in the house. We're what's left? What a family.
At least we're real, Jerry. We're real.
The value of truth over fiction is also seen in Beth choosing Mr. Poopy Butthole. When Beth discovers he's real, she's overcome with panic and spirals into alcoholism. If there was no difference between real and simulated experiences, there would be no difference between choosing him and all the other parasites. But clearly, we ascribe significant meaning to what is real and recoil from what we discover to be false.
And that's the way the news goes.
Going back to Morty's mind blowers, I would argue that the ability to pick and choose what we remember is also a simulated experience, insofar as it's not an authentic representation of life. Our old buddy Cass argues that to deprive oneself of one's memory, in its truthfulness also of feeling, is to deprive oneself of one's own life and identity. In regaining his memories, Morty has an identity crisis as he comes to terms with his previous mistakes.
I'm gonna remember everything!
Morty clearly conforms to Cass's stance, resolving to kill himself because so much of his life is alien to him.
All those memories just erased! Sitting in this room collecting dust!
By erasing his memories, Morty's not only lost significant portions of his life, but he's deprived himself of his true identity. An identity in which he is an idiot and he makes plenty of mistakes, but his true identity nonetheless. Without the comfort that his future actions will mean anything to him, he sees no point in living.
What's the point of going on if most of everything that happens just ends up sitting in in here?
Therefore, it's highly unethical for Rick to continue to remove Morty's memories, as learning the truth causes him to have an even greater existential crisis than the time he destroyed a reality and buried himself in his own back garden. By removing his bad memories, Morty's made his life even worse. And that, dear viewers, is called a segue, which leads us right into Part 3, the value of bad memories. Rick and Morty not only questions the ethics of erasing any memory, but the removal of bad memories more specifically. Bad memories have adaptive value. We make mistakes and we learn from them.
How many of these are just horrible mistakes I've made? I mean, maybe I'd stop making so many if I let myself learn from them.
In hindsight, Morty recognises that if he had allowed himself to suffer the hardships of his actions, rather than take the easy way out and remove them, he'd be more careful in the future. In removing his memories, Morty's denied himself the opportunity to grow and learn from his mistakes and the countless deaths that he's responsible for.
Grab a shovel. What is? Grab a shovel!
It's clear that Morty has the capacity to learn from traumatic experiences in his life. Take his response to Rick's bomb, for example.
You guys hit the baskets. I'll disarm the drunkenly improvised neutrino bomb. There's a 40% chance it's a dud, but you should still stay back. Morty, how many of these? Too many, Rick! Too many!
Had he erased the memory of when Rick's neutrino bombs were activated, he wouldn't be able to handle the situation in front of him, and he'd be in grave danger. A bad memory helps Morty in the future. Total Recall even demonstrates the adaptive value of bad memories.
I've got about 1,000 memories of your dumb little ass, and about 6 of them are pleasant.
Without the bad memories of testicular torture, drunken mothers and crazy homeless people, the Smiths would have never been able to discern between who was real and who was fake. Once again, bad memories come to the rescue.
Isn't that what you were trying to make me understand by yelling at me? Well, yeah, Dadoy. Took you long enough.
Over time, lessons can be learned from trauma, and the value of the memory as part of your life's narrative could present itself in the future. The solution isn't to remove a memory just because it's bad in the moment or during the immediate aftermath.
Gentlemen! There's a solution here you're not seeing.
Perhaps there's an easier solution. Keep the memory, but remove the trauma. Blunt the emotion attached to the event so that it can be recalled for later use, without conjuring up the trauma that it was associated with. But that too is wrong. Emotional states affect the likelihood of recall, and they also inform how we later use that memory.
I don't want to die!
Take this poor bastard for example. Morty inadvertently cheats him out of a blissful afterlife and instead watches him get dragged to hell before his very eyes.
I blame you!
If Morty had kept the memory but separated it entirely from the guilt that he felt, he wouldn't be compelled to learn from the situation.
But you shouldn't have to deal with that, man. Let's work off your trauma with some urban spin yoga. It's amazing.
Unfortunately, neither yoga nor emotionally blunting a memory would help you process your guilt, which is vital for the development of emotional maturity. While Morty would retain the narrative events, it's the emotional experience that would help him grow as a person. By removing his guilt, he denies himself the driving force to change the outcome. If you felt nothing, you would change nothing.
Ooh la la, someone's gonna get laid in college.
Since Morty keeps removing bad memories, he has no impetus to change how he acts, which for the most part is without thinking.
Oh, everything's crooked. Reality is poison.
Morty's eternally Morty because every time he has the opportunity to become a better person, he or Rick removes that potential. Bad memories would help him grow and mature.
Lambs to the cosmic slaughter!
If after all that, you still think that modifying your memory is a good idea, then
you're the reason this species is a failure, and it makes me angry.
Memory's too intricate, fragile, and currently unknown to us to even begin thinking about tampering with it. The vast interconnectedness of memory means that removing or adding one could have an effect so profound that it would be impossible to predict. Our memories, both good and bad, are vital to our perception of reality and our conception of self in both the present and the future. In short, the risk to our mental health and well-being is far too great for modifying memories to be ethically viable. And in a world's first, Tumblr might actually be right. We are the sum total of our experiences, and to remove those experiences would make us less than the sum of our parts.
Yeah, science, huh? Ain't it a thing?
And if you need any more convincing, consider this. The only two characters to modify their memories are Morty and Jerry. And if you take nothing else from me, remember this. You shouldn't take your memory for granted.
Are you saying granite? Well, yeah. It's granted! With a D! Take things for granted. Did you actually think it was...
But after graciously allowing me to monologue and waste a good chunk of your time today, I think it's only fair that I let you get a word in before I disappear. So, did you enjoy this video?
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Are you going to give it a like?
Yes.
Really? How about subscribe? Are you going to subscribe?
Yes.
You guys are too much. I don't know what to say. Oh, and if you didn't like it, I have something which might help.